Concrete 5 is a in-context content management system. It means its key benefit at a glance is being able to just go to a page, put it in edit mode, change some content right there while you're looking at it. Maybe you see a typo, maybe you have a fresh idea. But much like when you're reading a document with a word processor, you don't have to go somewhere else to edit it. Concrete 5 lets you do that exact same thing with content on the web, which is very appealing and can really speed up business processes as a whole. Sometimes you do need a strongly typed, centrally managed list of resources, be it product information for your whole product catalog across company, or news articles that you want to share across multiple web presences. Sometimes the idea of just going to the page it's on and making an edit is the exact opposite of what you need. And so that's why we came up with CDAM, the Centralized Digital Asset Management System for Concrete 5.6. It's a little different than a digital asset management system that you might use for your marketing department to share Photoshop files. This is really managing data at a granular level. So CDAM lets you organize your resources into a tree. Quickly go there. You can build out trees of stuff, and you can have multiple trees and rearrange them and that kind of thing. And the stuff, quote unquote, is we call resources. So this is a resource type of a rocket, and if we view it and we come into the detail here, you will see tabs of individual bits of marketing content. So this is feature bullets, 6 individual feature bullets, no longer than 255 characters, a short tagline, a shorter name, a longer description. You can get very granular with this stuff. You can create new types of custom attributes for this, and you can manage this in all sorts of different ways. So let's go and look a little bit about how this resource type is created. If I go back in to the administration, and I come into resource types, you can see there are 2 resource types here. We were just looking at a rocket, so if I go into attributes, you can see we have clumped these attributes together into sets, and each set can be moved around. It can have different permissions on it. So you can start to do things like, say, our marketing department should be able to edit media across any resource type, but they don't necessarily get to change the specifications. That's the product department or whatever. So you can tie permissions to these sets of attributes, so you can lock things down that way. You can also tie permissions to who can even make a type of resource in the first place. So you can see here we actually have a resource type of rocket. We have one of short story, which is an article. So these are different types, and you can have as many of those as you want. And you can have as many attributes inside of a resource and as many sets inside of a resource as you need. So already you can start to imagine how you could define a complex data object, break it into the parts for different groups that need to be able to edit it, and apply those resources as your organization needs. Additionally, CDAM lets you do market localization on those resource types. So for each resource type, you define how you want to think of languages. So, no, that's a bad example. Let's go back to the rocket one. So if I come in here and say, look, the root resource view that we create when we first make a product, we're thinking of that as English, and that's English that we're going to use here in the United States. But for the UK, sometimes we want to override that a little bit. We want to add a U to color, or we want to say it's not the world's best rocket, it's an awfully good rocket because of different laws around marketing practices in the UK. So the UK English view of this resource type will extend the root resource view. You can see how that might work with Spanish too. You create Spanish, and then you can create locales within that. You could do this for vertical industry type stuff. So maybe you talk about your content differently depending on the market that you're talking to. For finance, we speak differently than for medical and that kind of thing. So you can kind of you can think of languages as overriding one another, and I'll show you how that works. If I come into the catalog, and let's look at one of these rockets again. So you can see when I come here that the root resource view is bold, but so is the UK English one. Well, let's look at the root resource view. You can see we've got all these attributes where we've got data, and that's fine. I've seen this view before. But if I now look at the UK one, you can see we've actually just, it's showing us what the data is, and if we want to change it, we can override that resource view. And say actually if this first feature from the UK reads differently. So what will happen now is when we're going to build a feed out of this data, if we tell CDAM, look, I want the UK version of it, it'll start here on the tree, and it'll work its way up the tree, building the most granular specific content that it can. So if there is an override for a field in UK English, it'll use it. Otherwise, it would go up to the root resource view, and it'll go as many levels as you want in there. So you can start with languages at your root level, and then you can have locales that extend those languages, and that can go very deep and get very complicated. Additionally, you can set permissions on who can edit which language for a specific product. You can tie those permissions just to the language as a whole. You can also set permissions for different categories in your catalog. So I can change who should be able to add products to the Stage 7 rockets. These permissions go down subcategories. They go at a product level as well. So I could override the permissions for this product because Roy is the only guy that knows how the ADM 71 works. So I'm just going to change this one and let Roy deal with it. And this is the standard Concrete 5 permissions model. So this can have inclusions, exclusions, timed permissions that change. You can do group intersections. So if I am in this group but not that group, or custom permission sets. So whatever your business process can require, and you can dream up, you can code into here as a permission. Changing the data here also has, let me get back in here, versions and permissions assigned to it. So you can see here are a list of all the versions that have been made of this. And if we go and we change something here and save it, that takes us back. But if I go in, you'll see it's actually made a new version that needs to be approved. That can trip the enterprise workflow as well. So if you want to go get alerts in your waiting for me list, you can do that and have a multi-step workflow on top of any change made to any part of this centralized data. You can then use this centralized data to do all sorts of things. So using a single page, you can pull data out, spoof the URL, and build an article from any one of these resources that follows the right type, and basically manage a Concrete 5 site with hundreds of thousands of articles on the front end, but without having to make a page in the sitemap for each one. We have built feeds to power iPad apps out of this CDAM tool. We've got a tool in here that lets you quickly build a microsite. You can say, give me a, let's pick part of the site tree to make this at, make it underneath home. Let's pick a different theme, so you can start to have different themes for different parts of your site. Maybe you want to have like dealer-specific microsites within your site, so you could build a new theme for that dealer. Choose a page type for all the category pages. Choose a different page type for the product detail. Those page types can have blocks that pull specific data out of CDAM depending on the resource involved. Effectively, show me the name of this resource, show me the first 3 images of this resource, that type of thing. You can see here we are picking which language do we want to pull this data from. So I'll use the UK one, not just the root one. And this will actually go and build a whole set of pages out underneath your wherever you tell it in the sitemap. So you have a small site built within your larger site that still references that centralized data. At a high level, that is what CDAM does. It is the way to create structured content that has permissions and granular localization. When you really want every piece of content to be translated and you want to have that override structure, CDAM is a great way to approach the problem.